In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can.
Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone. Welcome to the tech zone. We on our tech flow, and it's still a global market in case you didn't know. So many guests, we not trying to impress. Just wanna pass off the info. You could do the rest. See, there's no escaping tech. It's part of our lives. Keep every individual connected worldwide. But all this innovation is more than entertainment. It's people like you paving a new way every day. So let your imagination run wild with all the things that you dream about. Cause the tech zone is on now with Paul Amadeus Lane. Blah. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the tech zone.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Tech Zone. What's going on? I'm Paul Amadeus Lane. So happy to be with you on the show today. We got a great show planned for you. Welcome our listeners on ABC News Radio, KMET, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn. However you are listening to the show, we thank you so much. You can't forget about our viewers on live stream and YouTube as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Remember, you can always connect with me at paulamadeouslane.com. On this edition of the show, it's all about game-changing technology. We're going to check in with our friends at Verizon Media to see what they are doing for some underrepresented members of the community who need help experiencing certain things. So our friends at Verizon Media are going to be joining us about that. And then coming up on this segment of the show, we're going to be talking about resilient technology and just how it's really important for us to make sure that we are prepared for any natural disasters and anything that come what may. So, without any further delay, last week we had a show together, we recorded it, but we had some technical difficulties, so I had to call back some of my guests to try to redo the show. And thankfully, they were available to do it, and I appreciate so much. Well, it was really a blessing in disguise because something came up in the news, especially here in California, because of the high wind advisory. Certain utility companies had to shut down utilities because of high winds and the threats of wildfires. What would happen if you were affected by that? Let's just say that you needed some electricity to survive. Maybe you had medicine. Maybe you needed to cook. Maybe you needed to keep things that were cold. You needed to charge your cell phone battery. You need some lighting out there. Well, my next guest is going to talk about how we can prepare ourselves for that and why it's really important for us to really think about that, especially in the time in which we live in. Without any further delay, let's bring on our very special guest. And I'm so happy to have with me right now the CEO and co-founder of GoSun. We got Sir Patrick Sherwin from the House of GoSun. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Yeah, feeling good, man. It's great to see you as always, Paul.
Great to see you too. And Patrick, I'm going to tell you something. You are royalty when it comes to solar. So from henceforth, you will be known as Sir Patrick Sherwin. That's who you are now. And you know what?
Lieutenant Solar right here.
There you go.
Yeah, man. We're trying to use the sun in every way we possibly can and make life, more comfortable, more high, more performance-oriented solar products for consumers to live resilient, abundant, and healthy.
Absolutely. And you know what, Patrick? I kind of shared this before about you about how we actually recorded another segment for last week, but we had some technical difficulties, and we had to reschedule today. And how this was really a blessing in disguise, especially here in California where we're at, with the high winds and the threats of wildfires. A lot of the power companies out here were shutting down power to consumers because of the threat of wildfires. And Patrick, I think having you on right now, especially for our California viewers and listeners, is so important. And it really helped me to see, living in one of the counties, San Bernardino County, is that we have to have some backups out there. And Patrick, what you guys are doing at GoSun is incredible. So let's talk about some of the backups and why it's important for us to make sure that we protect ourselves.
Yeah, right on. We make consumer friendly products that are super easy to use and affordable. Solar is typically up on a rooftop, kind of out of sight, and you don't have an easy interaction. I know a lot of customers were pretty upset that their solar system wasn't available during the rolling blackouts. And without batteries, that's true. You know, a solar array that's typically on a rooftop is just a grid interactive. If the grid is down, the solar array is not working. Being in the solar industry for 20 years, I've seen the flaws, I've seen the benefits, and a lot of the stuff that I've done is off-grid, so it's focused on battery energy storage so that you have an uninterruptible supply when and where you need it. And more recently with GoSun, we've been building appliances that run on the sun. We started off making amazing solar ovens. They can cook a meal in as little as 20 minutes. And they'll work through clouds and through freezing cold. And the reason that they're so effective is based on vacuum insulation. It's the first real mainstream effective solar cooking solution. It can also pasteurize water when you're in a pinch. And it's great as an oven for RV, camp, boat, backyard barbecues. But we've moved on from those to include solar charging, so phone charging. I know that was a huge thing. One of the first things that PG&E set up during the outages was just simple phone chargers so people could have communications access to making sure their friends knew that everything was good and carrying on with work and whatnot. So from phone charging, we got into lighting. And more recently, we do solar-powered cooling. So we launched the GoSun Chill. And that's a solar-powered cooler that replaces the need for ice. So essentially with GoSun, we have technology that displaces gas, like butane or propane or even charcoal. And then our other side of our technology will replace the need for ice. So we have solar cooling technology now as well. And that's basically taking the sun to store energy in a power bank that will run an off-grid portable fridge for a day without any need for ice. And what's really convenient there is you can store your foods, your medicines, your cold drinks in the events and when you're having fun with your buddies. And you don't have to go back to the gas station to resupply. So we're hoping that people can thrive in the off-grid. And that can start as soon as you're in your backyard or when you're traveling by using nothing but sunshine and avoiding the need for fire, fuel, and ice.
I love it. I love it. And Patrick, so let's take one of these technologies, innovation, one at a time, and let's go a little bit deeper in really explaining the benefit of it, especially if we have to go off-grid for a while. And I'm glad you explained when we have solar panels on top of our house, if we don't have them battery activated, when the power gets shut off by PG&E or Southern California Edison, you know, we still have no power. So let's take the solar oven that you guys make and talk about why that's so important if the power is out, if we're off grid and we have to just nomad it for a minute.
Yeah. The solar oven that we make, I was saying earlier, it's vacuum insulated, so it works extremely well in clouds and in cold weather. I turned 40 years old a year and a half ago, and I decided to cook on that oven exclusively for 40 days. And I video blogged the whole thing on YouTube. It was just my way of becoming 40 and doing something challenging. And the GoSun kept up impeccably well. I mean, even through like ice, I was scraping ice off the tube, and I was able to cook as soon as the sun showed up. I only went one day out of 40 days where I wasn't able to eat. That was a 28-hour experience where there's 4 inches of rain, and I couldn't eat a thing because there wasn't an inkling of sunlight. But that was all just to prove how effective and reliable solar cooking can be using GoSun's vacuum tube ovens. And more recently, we totally nixed all of the naysaying. You know, people always ask me, what happens when there is no sunshine, or what happens when it rains? We actually integrated a hybrid solar and electric cooking capability into our latest GoSun Fusion product. So we have a little 12-volt heating element that runs underneath the food. And if there is no sun, or if you're cooking at night or indoors, you can plug the thing into a 12-volt cigarette car port, with the most common port in the world. And using just 150 watts of electricity, you can get a meal cooked. And what's neat there is that's only 1/10 of the energy consumption of a toaster or a microwave. So for the first time, off-grid cooking is possible using electricity, both through your 12-volt or our GoSun power bank, which is a lithium-ion power bank that stores 150 watt-hours, enough to run that thing for an hour and cook a meal for the whole family off-grid.
And Patrick, as we look at that, the power supply, the solar brick, does that charge with solar technology, or does it have to be plugged into a regular outlet?
Yeah, it'll do both. I love how you call it the solar brick. The GoSun power bank is becoming like the hub of your campsite or your off-grid living. It's 2 pounds. It's yay big. It has 3 USB ports, so you can charge your phone like 10 times. It has a light that you can run for like 7 days, and it has a 15 amp 12-volt power socket. The input is either from a wall socket or from a solar panel. We have multiple options. We even have a solar table. It's like a camp table that has a 60-watt panel built into the surface. And once that battery is charged, you are basically carrying around a 20-pound bag of ice for the GoSun Chill, or you're carrying around a propane canister for the GoSun Fusion.
I love it. I love it, Patrick. And again, this helps us to go off grid, showing how we can do it using the sun. And especially if you live in a part of the country or part of the world where you have to go off grid for a while, these are some must-haves right here. And we touched on it before about the Go Chill. I saw it in action at CES 2019 earlier this year when my man Patrick came to visit us at our broadcast booth. Patrick came showing up with his tight red velvet jacket on. I told him his jacket game was tight, but he even upped it. What he did when he came into the studio, he brought the Go Chill with him. In that Go Chill, guys, you might remember this, guys, when you watched it live on CES, that Patrick hooked me up with some Modelos. They were ice cold, they were delicious, and I'm getting off track now thinking about the Modelo, Patrick. But again, when we look at the Go Chill, that cooler right there, only thing I thought about this last week when our friends and close relatives were out where PG&E was, and even Southern California Edison the other day down at Castle University San Bernardino, when they had to shut the power off too, was that people who have to store their medicine. Now they could went to the store and they can buy some ice packs, but ice packs melt. Again, let's talk about what makes the Go Chill the must-have, especially in the time that we live in.
Yeah, if you've ever seen portable fridges, there's generally a mode where they run on thermo electric power. So if you make heat using propane, you then have a cold side. And long story short, that those things are great at getting a 40-degree temperature difference between the outside ambient air temperature and the temperature inside the cooler. A thermoelectric refrigerator is the most common car fridge of the past. And what we found is that we can shrink down an old compressor with a DC brushless motor. And basically, it's the same thing that you might find in your fridge at home. And when we shrink down the compressor and the evaporator coil, we can get really high efficiencies to the point where we're like using a third of the energy of the old thermoelectric style refrigeration. And again, that's enabling amazing long-term off-grid living using about 35 watts when the compressor runs. And to give you a perspective, that's about 2 cell phones in terms of the power consumption. And again, that's only when you're running the compressor. And if you're just trying to keep food, like you can keep food fresh at about 50 degrees Fahrenheit for like 2 days on one single GoSun power bank. If you're trying to freeze and you're going to be running the compressor on a constant duty cycle, you'll probably get 3 hours of runtime with that single off-grid battery. And again, just like the battery having multiple charging options, the GoSun Chill has several as well. It can plug into your 12 volt, and it comes also with an AC adapter, so it can plug into a wall. And then, of course, with GoSun, it comes with this integrated power bank that can run it for a whole day, and then that gets charged with sunshine. So it's what we're calling the world's first viable solar cooler. And we actually are in like a pre-order mode for the GoSun Chill right now. And I think it's running like $550 with shipping in November on our website at gosun.co.
I love it. I love it. And towards the end of our interview with Patrick, too, we're going to see if we can save you a little money on that, too. See if Patrick and I can come to a meeting of the minds, how we can hook you guys up there for checking out and listening in. So, Patrick, when we look at especially the Go Chill, I can speak from experience, man. It kept the Modelo nice and cold. You know, we should get a sponsorship, you and I, for Modelo for talking about how it kept the Modelo cold. How did you know that I love Modelo Light anyway, Patrick? Did somebody tell you that?
No, I didn't even get tipped off, man. I got lucky on that one. Yeah. It's all just love connecting with you, Paul. I feel so blessed to know you, man.
Hey, same here, my friend. And what you're doing, again, is phenomenal. And let's talk about the solar lighting now. And why is this important, especially in natural disasters, or if we have to go off the grid, or if the power company shut down our power because of high winds? Why is it so important to have solar lighting now?
Well, yeah, Paul, I think you just nailed it with respect to why it's important. But I think we take lighting for granted. I mean, I have an off-grid shed out here, and I've got all kinds of gardening supplies in there. When it gets dark out, the shed is useless. I can't do anything. So I put in this little Sun King Home 120, which is just a 12-watt solar panel and 3 lights. I think each light has like 200 lumens. So now I've got 600 lumens of light out there, and I can continue to work all day round. Especially, you know, during the winter when the night falls at 5 p.m. and you're out of luck. So, you know, lighting is one of those things that it's absolutely critical in the hierarchy when an emergency comes. A flashlight is a critical thing. We have great flashlights on our website as well. But where the problem is really being addressed heavily is in like sub-Saharan Africa, where you have like, you know, roughly 1 billion people without access to electricity, and then they're using kerosene lamps indoors. And this is such an epic problem that's been addressed more recently with solar and LEDs and lithium-ion energy storage. The company that we're partnering with as our lighting supplier is Green Light Planet. They're one of the largest distributors in Africa. So we're hoping to get our cooking technology in sub-Saharan Africa, and we're helping to take over their North American distribution. So it's neat. It's like the first time we've really seen a crossover between the two markets. I mean, we're literally selling solar lighting to people who want it in their campsite or their shed or their van or just around the house when the power's out. And these are products that were designed and developed for the African market. And then we're taking our product, which is developed for the North American market, and we're bringing it into Africa. It's pretty exciting.
I love it. Way to cross promote and get the message out there. And because, you know, your technology and your innovation is doing some incredible things out there in natural emergencies. You guys work with a lot of, you work with the emergency services, like the Red Cross, I believe. Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, and some of the things that you guys are out there are and able to do. And how does it feel, Patrick, that you guys have a piece of innovation not only can be convenient, like for us who live in the United States, well, not no more, but, you know, when we go to the beach or something, we can have a cooking solar product. But in places where there's not technology out there to have them be able to cook and have fresh water and all these other things, how does it make you feel that you guys are making a difference?
And so it's all I ever wanted to do, just help people out. And last week, it's funny, I got an opportunity to run down to Miami for the kickoff of this epic partnership to support the mission in Bahamas under Hurricane Dorian. That was about a month ago. Hurricane Dorian crashed into the northern portion of the Bahamas, and I mean, it's unbelievable the wreckage in the toll of that hurricane. I used to live in the Bahamas for about 4 years and was lucky to avoid everything but a Category 1 hurricane. This Category 5 Dorian, it's hard to talk about, and the situation down there is absolutely still dire. So we're partnering with Global Empowerment Mission as well as Be Strong, which is Bethany Frankel's nonprofit, and Bahamas Relief Fund, run by Rick Fox, a former NBA player, actually played for the Lakers out there, with Shaquille and Kobe and whatnot. So I was hanging out with Rick Fox, listening to him talk last week about helping people, bringing fresh water and diapers and medicines and food to these affected families on the out islands in the Bahamas, man. And my heart just starts, it's all I could ever ask for. It's all I could ever want to do is help. And in a time of need like this, boy, I tell you, it feels good. So we're trying to partner with them for lighting, for power. I mean, like just the ability to have a USB plug for your cell phone. There's 5 other devices that you might want to charge with your USB, and then of course the cooling and the cooking. And because right now, like, they're importing everything to the point where, like, bottled water, like the fresh water supply got completely destroyed. Obviously, the utilities, the electric line, every single pole got crushed. And this is in a place where logistics were already very difficult. I mean, it's kind of a miracle that the Bahamas had power and water on all these out islands. And now that this hurricane came through, it's going to be months and if not years before it's restored. So we're psyched to help out.
Yeah. It's when natural disasters strike, Patrick. That's when we see how real things are and when people are affected by it. And I think sometimes here in the States we live in a box in a fishbowl, and we forget the ones who are not living, who are our neighbors, who live in this country, but others. And so happy to have organizations like yours to really take this bull by the horn and offer some great solutions with some great people out there. And Patrick, we talked about this before. The innovations that you have created. If it's not drinking water, safe drinking water out there, can any one of your innovations help that out? How can that be achievable?
Well, I tell you what, like I said, you always have the best questions. You're pointing right at where we're going right now. We got food, we got cooking, we got cooling, we got power and lighting, and now we're working on fresh water. So stay tuned, I guess, is what I'm going to say. It's definitely a challenge. Water is. You're going to have a lot of problems with water. It's always going to find a way out. It's always going to get contaminated. It's always, especially if you're on the coast and you're starting off with salt water. Whew, man, is that a challenge? Like the Bahamas, they had these giant reverse osmosis machines which consume a ton of power. Yeah. I used to do maintenance on those things, and basically you're just slamming salt water through a bunch of membranes in order to get fresh water on the other side. And yikes, the maintenance and energy demands of a reverse osmosis machine are kind of antiquated, to be honest. And so we're working, I really shouldn't share too much, but I think we'll have a solution in Q1, Q2 of 2020 that will be commercially viable on a consumer level for purifying water. And then we're going to try to tackle shelter. So the shelter, which is like the tiny house or the van life, takes all of the technology that we've developed and it puts it under one umbrella so that an off-grid tiny house is possible. So, for example, right now in the Bahamas, we could put a tiny house on a boat, ship it out there, and that could be a command center or a clinic.
Wow.
And it would have all its own power and water.
Wow. Patrick, I am blown away. I remember you and I first met 3 years ago when I first started the Tech Zone. I think you were my second person I ever had as a guest on the show, and back then it was just the GoSun stove that you had, and to see all the innovation that you have unleashed on us and the different awards that you've been recognized from our friends over at the Consumer Technology Association who puts on CES. It's incredible, my friend, and to be able to witness this journey and to see what's been going on. Patrick, I'm so blessed to know you because I got a feeling, Patrick, 3 or 4 years down the line, man, you are just going to be Mr. Solar. I mean, because it's a, I'm just really, really happy to that our paths crossed several years ago and be able to follow your journey, man.
Thank you, man. I tell you, it has a lot to do with the industry's maturity. I've been playing around with solar for a couple decades and always wishing that it was more advanced or ahead of where the industry itself. The technology has existed, but it's been too expensive. The application towards consumer level products has been a little messy. And then, there wasn't a very good energy storage mechanism. Lead acid batteries are horrible. And so now that we have lithium ion and we have controls, you go to CES and you'll see what you can do with electronics. It's mind blowing. Yeah. So when you pull those three trends together, we're just at the right place at the right time. And that's why GoSun is doing well. Blend solar with lithium and controls with a team of people that are really focused on solutions, on serving others. And GoSun is going to go places. Thank you.
Yes, and more yes. So Patrick, let's hook our listeners and viewers up right there. What can we do for them if they go to the site and want to purchase some of this great innovation? What can we do for them? Yeah,
actually, I'm glad we set this up because Tech Zone is now a promo code on GoSun.co. So if you're interested in any of our products and you go to our website, you go to the checkout, you click on what you want. We've got all the stuff up there. Some of it is on pre-order, which means you'll get it in a month or two. And you fill out your cart, and when you're at the checkout, there's be a little opportunity for applying a promo code, and it's just one word, Tech Zone. It doesn't matter if it's capital or underscore. That's going to get you 15% off everything.
Awesome. Patrick, you hooking the listeners up and everything. I appreciate it. You're going to make a brother cry, man. I'm going to have to get a Modelo after I get through, but thank you so much, Patrick. Hey, looking forward to catching up with you real soon, and I can't wait to hear more information about that water solution that's on the horizon. Not only that, but I'm looking forward to seeing you at CES 2020, and we'll break out some Modelos again, okay?
That's right. Right on. Thanks, Paul. It's always a pleasure, man.
Take care, my friend. Once again, a huge shout out to my friend, Patrick Sherwin, founder and CEO of GoSun. Make sure you go check out all these great products out at GoSun, GoSun.co. And remember to use promo code TechZone, one word, TECHZONE, to get your 15% discount. I tell you, folks, it's time for us to think seriously about what can happen if they shut down power. We need to make sure that we're ready to live off the grid, and those solutions will definitely help us out. All right, when we get back, we're going to check in with our friends at Verizon Media to see some of the great things that they've been up to. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back with more Tech Zone.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.